By way of introduction, Lynn is my ex-husband's sister, baby sister. So she's my young man's auntie, very special auntie. They get up to lots of mischief together. John is her beloved. I'll hand over to the two of you to introduce yourselves and say what you do, what you're up to, where you are, etc.
Hey everybody, so like Claire mentioned, my name is Lyndell. I am 27 years old. I am currently residing in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, originally from Durban, but moved up here for work. I am a junior civil engineer. I've been working for about 3 years. And as Claire mentioned, this is my beloved John. We have been together for about 8 years.
Hi everyone, I'm John. I am also living in Midrand. I am working in Centurion as a wet services engineer, which is a fancy name for a plumbing engineer. I'm 29 years old, and I also come from Durban.
And then in terms of the impact that it's had, how has it had an impact on your life, like on a daily basis? What are you doing differently? And also, like, what hasn't changed as well?
Okay, so for me, more than John, the company I work for, we have a large portion of our clients are governmental organizations and parastatal. So as a result, once the lockdown was sort of enforced, those have closed down. So we have had to close down as well. So I've been on leave for this period. So I mean, it's been a bit difficult because you're sort of getting to the routine of what your days look like, how you're working, and so that's changed for me. But I think it has been interesting to see how many people are able to work remotely, and how many people are not. I think it's also been a bit difficult for me because, like I was saying, I'm a junior. So this period is quite important for development. You know, the growth is quite intense over these first few years. Something I've learned about myself over these past few years is I am quite an anxious person, and I get quite claustrophobic. So you know, when it was the whole announcement of like, you know, you have to stay indoors, that for me was a bit of a struggle. It took some time to sort of adjust to it, and having to find things to do. But also, I'm studying this year, so luckily, Wits is in a position to start online learning, which, you know, obviously I realize I'm very privileged to be a part of an institution that can make that possible, because we know, you know, there are a lot of institutions that for them it's not possible, and you have to think about what happens to students at those institutions. But also, so that's sort of things that have changed. Things that have stayed the same, I guess I've been trying to keep, like, you know, sort of waking up at a similar time, going to bed at a similar time, trying to keep active as you can in your house. Because also the complex that we stay in, they are not as strict as they could be, but, you know, they are aware of, like, not allowing people out and in, and stuff like that, even when you're outside, you know, just being aware of keeping spaces. So that's also, I mean, a bit difficult, having your movements controlled. But yeah, I mean, yes,
and especially I guess living in a flat, right? In an apartment, can't be that easy.
Yes. Yeah. So John and so we stay in a 1 bedroom, and we don't have a balcony, right? But the people across from us have balconies, and we often like go outside and we're like, why aren't these people using the balcony? Like, you have a balcony, why are you not using it? So it's been like an ongoing sort of running joke between us, like, who are the people on the balcony? So yeah, it gets difficult. But,
So.
With regards to stuff that stayed the same, well, I mean, I can say it's not easy when you're in a one-bedroom flat, but we do have a little area on the side where I'll go in the morning and I'll just work out a little bit in the quiet. And we do have some people, because our complex is enclosed, they just run up and down the hill just to keep active and keep. People do stay 4 or 5 meters away from each other, so that's fine. But it's not that many people, and I think they're trying to make the best out of a pretty bad situation, because obviously people can't go to gym, and I was going to gym. I went to gym up until the last day that we weren't allowed to. So that I think we close on the Thursday, right? The lockdown.
Yeah.
So Thursday morning, I was like, okay, let me take advantage of the gym one more time. And then obviously I haven't been since. So I just started, no, there's some space there. I've got my gym for just to make sure that there's a little of normality in the world.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna go mad. But yeah, that's been my my take on it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything you think you'll do differently in the future because of this?
I think, firstly, obviously, you really learn to appreciate your freedom. And I think, especially being, so for me, being in a new city is a lot to experience. But you'll always be like, oh, it's okay next time. There's this place I saw, maybe I should do it this weekend. No, it's okay next time. So, sort of that, taking advantage of things when you are able to do them. Hopefully when this lockdown is lifted, I think, there'll definitely be a change. I don't know what that change will look like. I don't think we will exist the same in the world anymore. Being so far away from home, I don't come home very often. Because it's just a thing of like, oh, you'll go to Durban when you can go to Durban.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's been a thing of like really thinking, I actually really miss my parents, especially not being able to see them. And when these lockdowns, when the levels, are implemented, level 3, level 2, I think the movement of older people is going to be quite restricted. So that's really, something that's concerning me. If they'd be able to visit, when they'd be able to visit, would they be able to visit even in this year? So definitely making more of an effort to go home more often.
I do agree on the taking advantage of what you can do, because it's a simple. It's a famous old saying: you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah.
The simple act of you want to just go to the gym, you want to go watch a movie, you can't do that. Just simple things that were so normal to life before are not allowed now. And who knows, even after the lockdown, when will people decide that, hey, we actually are okay with it? Because they could end the lockdown tomorrow and say everything's okay, but then people would still be wearing masks, still be wearing gloves. They would still stay far away from each other. They would still buy ridiculous amounts of toilet paper for no reason. Those types of things. So I think seizing the days, so to speak, is quite important.
I think even just on that point, something as simple as I was having a conversation with my friend a few days ago, and she was saying, it's so weird how our days have changed. So she was speaking about the fact that when she gets to work, she has this whole routine. And one of the things that sort of starts her day is when I arrive, and then I'll come speak to her, give her like a hug, and then that's sort of how we start out our days. Yeah. And she was like, like now even hugging is a thing. She's like, I miss your morning hugs, but it's a thing of like, how do we, move forward from this? Like hugging is like a thing that's like, okay, Yes. So yeah, I mean it's as small as that. So yeah.
And exactly, it's such a big fundamental part of our daily lives. That touching, that loving.
Yes.
You know my thing was the one thing that keeps coming to me is our babies that are born, the babies that are born now, will they know us as, like, when they see people, are they just going to, do you know, like that's an extension, a mask is an extension of us in a way. That scares me. That really will we be able
it's like kids these days don't know like a dial-up modem or the stuff that we knew growing up. They're like, what is this? You know, why is there a CD player in a car? Where's the Bluetooth? Where's the USB? You know, that it's quite strange. But it's obviously way more serious than that, you know?
I found a video.
Yeah. Well, that was my bugbear, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, and then the tears started coming, so I'm not going to belabor that one. So what do you think are the main lessons that we can take from the situation?
I think I think that there will be a newfound appreciation for the things that matter in the world, right? So, and you know, you see a lot of posts on Facebook and stuff like that, but the key things in the world, like healthcare systems, food supply, basic services, because we tend to glorify a lot of the very fancy, very hard-tailed stuff, you know, but the basics, you know, for me, that's, you know, kind of industry that I have a soft spot for is the healthcare industry. And I know that people have their ideas of it, but, you know, a sick nation is a nation that can't function. So I'm glad that nowadays nurses, doctors, EMTs, all those guys are getting the recognition they deserve, because in reality those are the foundations or the pillars that societies are built on. You know, it's not sports stars, it's not you know, F1 drivers or Hollywood stars, it's those guys. And I'm glad that, at least for now, they are getting the recognition they deserve. Obviously, you know, a simple thing for me is I'm hoping that, you know, the country can start taking medical university a bit more seriously and having a couple more of them. So we have more doctors, we have more nurses, we take that seriously. You know, that is where we should really be investing in, because, you know, because already we're struggling as a country in that field. So this has just made it way worse. And I hope that at least going forward, the country and the government and the people can learn, at least the people can put pressure on the government to expect more in those areas, and the government can see that we need more in those areas. That's,
I think a big lesson for me, just looking at this virus on a global scale, has really been how fortunate we are to have the leadership that we have within this country.
Yes.
I think, you know, a lot of, in fact, within the continent as a whole.
Yes.
I think a lot of countries have put sort of the economic benefits before the needs of the people.
Yes.
And in those countries, I mean, we see the impacts of that. And I think we really are fortunate to have a president who, you know, especially for a third world country. You know, I'm sure when all of this started, all of the people who left for New Zealand and left for Australia were like, this was the best decision I could have made for myself, to come, to leave South Africa, you know, and to see how well I think we're doing as a nation is amazing. I think, you know, during 2010 there was really that whole like feeling of being so patriotic, and with the World Cup and all of that. But also during this period, it's been amazing to see how people are reacting to each other, you know, just across the scale of, you know, making an effort to make sure that people don't go hungry, you know, like all of that stuff, just on a level of like normal people, what we're doing, and then also what the government is doing.
Yes.
I think we could really be in a really bad position if choices were not made at the beginning to, you know, sort of slow down that spread.
Yes.
And it's also very it's nice for me to see that, you know, a lot of people in adhering to these lockdowns are doing it because they know, you know, like for us, we know if we contract COVID-19, we are in a better position because we have medical aid and all of that stuff. But for us, it's about who you pass it on to, and I think that's been something that most people have been sort of thinking about, protecting the people that are vulnerable in this country.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes me love South Africa.
Yeah.
So it's really just been a lesson in, you know, why this country is as amazing as it is.
Oh,
That's one of the major lessons.
Yeah, that's awesome, Lynn. And you know, I keep thinking about that group of however many that's, you know, credit to the president. He never says me. He knows that he's got this team that's working with him. Like,
Yes.
that think tank is thinking
Yes.
of everything in this response, you know, like pulling out all the steps and thinking about how do we plug all the holes, you know, and hopefully that can be sustained then, you know, and imagine if it can be, then, you know, we can really maybe see a turnaround in the country and bridging the gaps between the rich and the poor, and people not starving, and but anyway, yeah. So, and then the last question is a bit of a big one, I guess. In what way do you think the world has changed and will have changed because of this? Forever, irreversibly changed, do you think?
I think this is similar to it's kind of given focus on what's important. You know, on a more personal scale, it's obviously like, you know, this is, you know, everyone called it, I remember seeing lots of, you know, messages saying, oh, it's just a common cold, it's just this, it's just that. Actually, it's not just that. You know, I think it has put in perspective, you know, how quick, because my sister said she had a friend, her father was diagnosed on a Saturday, by the next Wednesday he passed away.
Whoa.
That's how quickly you can take someone, and that is not even a week.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, he wasn't that old, so that's how quick it is. Yeah. So I think it's kind of put in perspective, you know what's important. And again, you know, I think the world's got to realize what is the most important thing that we are fighting for all the time. I mean, all over the world, we're having, in my opinion, very ridiculous arguments, very stupid fights between countries. When all of a sudden this hits, it kind of makes you realize how petty those things are.
Yeah.
And one of the best quotes I've heard about this is from a physicist. He says, an astrophysicist. He says, "There's nothing like a microscopic organism to make you realize that in fact you're not in control. Yeah. You know, you don't have control of everything. We don't. So, and we just got to figure out what is actually the most important thing that you're fighting for today and tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You know, that to me is what I'm hoping that the world all over realizes. Okay, you know, COVID-19 doesn't matter what brand shoes you wear, the color of your skin, the length of your hair, where you live. It is just as deadly for everyone. And in fact, we're all in this together. So let's at least try and help each other one way or another. I'm hoping that happens.
Yeah.
Don't know how likely it is, but you know, if you don't have hope, what do you have?
Yeah, yeah.
I think also it's really put a spotlight on how countries deal with such things like pandemics and stuff that largely affects everybody in the world. I think it's put a spotlight on how we choose leaders, really how they are dealing with it and what people should be doing. But also, like John is saying, you know, it really is a thing of we're human. You know, we live every day like we are invincible. And we don't think about, you know, the fact that we could get sick today and die in 2 days.
Yeah.
And this has really been a sort of a wake-up call for us to you know, be living different. And I think something else is, you know, also during this time of us being forced to stay inside, we also see how the environment around us is reacting. I mean, within a week, it was the canals in Venice had cleared up, and like, you know, air pollution was down. So I think also we need to be really during this time taking cognizance of the fact that we do a lot of harm to the world, and we should really be one week without human influence has done, you know, has like made such a difference.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that we should be thinking about how we exist in the world and how we can sort of live better lives to ensure that we're not also killing the environment that we live in.
Yeah.
I think one thing that is funny is that you know, we always state, oh no, the world is going to end, the world is going to end, you know, when this stuff happens. When the truth is that the world isn't going to end. Humanity may end, you know, where there can be maybe no more humans or whatever because of the virus, but the world will carry on spinning. The sun will still rise in the east, set in the west. So I think that's also where we have to cherish what we have, starting from the basics to, you know, the highest level of stuff. You know?
Okay. Is there anything else before we finish? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'm just going to echo what I've heard all over the internet: is stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, look out for each other, and listen to your doctors.
Yeah.
I think for me it's pretty much the same. I know that the world that we're going to exist in after this is going to be different. But I think we will adapt.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning of this lockdown, you know, I'm sure lots of people, I myself was really like, this is a lot. But you adapt.
Yes.
And I think we are strong.
Yeah.
As people and also as a nation. And I think no matter what happens, I really believe that we'll be fine.
Okay. Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your lovely input.
Thanks for having us, Claire. This was actually really nice.
Thank you, Lynn. Lovely.
And we really look forward to stuff that you're doing in the future.
Oh,
thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
And 10 points to your tech team over there.
Producer.